Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something that seems, well, almost every day. Seasons.
Right. And it's more than just whether you prefer sun or snow or looking at nice pictures of autumn leaves.
Definitely not. We're actually conducting a deep dive into the profound structural impact seasons have on our routines, our psychology, our whole human experience, really.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. When you ask someone their favorite season, it sounds simple,
Yeah, just a preference.
but what you're really asking them to do is explain a whole chain reaction. The quick answer is easy, sure.
I like summer.
Right. But the deeper response, that involves connecting climate, culture, how we manage things, day-to-day logistics,
Yeah.
and memory. That's the structural knowledge we want to pull out today.
So our mission here is to get past just describing things, beyond saying, oh, I like summer because it's sunny. We want to understand the mechanics underneath. How does the simple fact that the Earth tilts fundamentally rearrange our world? We're hunting for that deep descriptive why, the reason behind the preference linking, physical needs to how we feel.
Okay, let's unpack that structure, that dependency.
So the basic framework is obvious, right? The four standard seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter.
Obvious starting point. But our sources show pretty quickly that just sorting them by temperature, that kind of misses the bigger picture.
How so?
Well, the fascinating thing, the structural knowledge bit, is that it immediately makes us think bigger. Each season, driven by changes in like daylight hours and temperature, it acts like a trigger.
A forcing function, you could say.
Yeah, exactly. It changes four core dimensions of life all at once. Weather, obviously,
Yeah.
but also the food we eat,
Right. Seasonality of food.
the clothes we need to wear, and maybe the most critical one, our mood, our energy levels.
That link between sunlight and mood is huge, isn't it? That feels key.
It really is. It drives that massive contrast we see. If the climate shifts, the whole setup of your life, the logistics has to shift too. And so your psychology kind of has to adapt along with it.
Think about the extremes you mentioned.
Right. Consider summer versus winter. On one hand, you've got that high energy, active, outward kind of joy in midsummer. More sunlight naturally boosts activity levels.
Makes sense.
But then contrast that with the deep stillness of winter. And this isn't just about liking the cold. This shift is so deep, so pervasive. Our sources even touch on things like seasonal affective disorder.
Right, SAD. It really highlights how fundamentally that solar cycle dictates things, whether we're buzzing with energy or feeling more introspective.
We're seeking quiet, yeah. It sets a baseline.
Okay, so let's look at the basic descriptions, the raw data, if you will. The sources give us those standard weather summaries. Spring, warm, often windy, a transition time. Summer, hot and sunny. Autumn, cool and dry. Winter, cold, often with snow or ice. Simple enough. But the real insight, the texture, comes when we go beyond just temperature. Like describing summer as just hot. It's not enough.
It's incomplete.
Exactly. We need to bring in words like humidity. You know that specific feeling when the air feels wet, sticky?
Oh, yeah. That changes everything.
It does. That specific quality fundamentally changes the clothing dimension we talked about. You switch from just light clothes to actively seeking fabrics that, breathe because the air itself feels heavy.
Right. And contrasting that with winter, the shift is just massive. Winter isn't only cold, it's defined by things like frost.
That thin layer of ice crystals.
Yeah, on the ground, on the windows in the morning, that specific visual, that still frozen landscape, that's what helps create that feeling of quiet, of contained calm, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And it dictates whether you hunker down inside or maybe go out for specific things like, sledding or skiing if you have snow.
Exactly. So the language we use is crucial for capturing the feeling. Absolutely. Take spring. It's defined by renewal, right? And that's not just about warmer days. It's tied to the phenomenon of bloom.
When the flowers open up.
Yes. It's the visual proof that the whole system is restarting. It signals change.
Okay, let's trace that structural chain then. From the internal mood, the feeling, to what we actually do. If seasons set the internal rhythm, what activities sort of enable that rhythm or respond to it?
Well, the activities are incredibly tied to the season. They dictate so much: diet, travel, social life.
So thinking about those high energy seasons again.
Right. Summer activities: swimming, traveling, eating quick, cooling foods. Ice cream comes to mind.
Classic summer food.
These are all enabled by the logistics, the longer light, the heat. Now flip to autumn. The agricultural cycle takes over. The key word there has to be harvest.
Selecting the crops.
Exactly. And that ties directly into traditions, food preservation, diet changes, and this feeling of culmination, getting ready for the rest period.
Which brings us to winter activities. They seem mostly about seeking shelter, right? Conserving energy, or maybe finding warmth together.
Totally. Staying inside, reading books, drinking tea or hot chocolate. That need to be indoors. It directly supports the mood that the sources often call quiet and romantic.
Okay, but let's push on that a bit. Quiet and romantic. Is it always?
That's a really good point. We should engage critically with that description, because while the ideal winter evening might be cozy warmth and romance,
Yeah, fire crackling, all that.
the sources also hint that this mood exists in tension with the season's reality. Logistically, winter, especially around the holidays, it can be incredibly stressful.
Oh, definitely. Travel chaos, heating bills, packed social schedules.
Precisely. So that quiet and romantic feeling, it might often be something we intentionally create because we have to stay inside, maybe less a passive effect of the weather and more a choice made within those constraints.
That's a really powerful distinction. The mood as a choice within the structure. Okay, that leads us back perfectly to spring, the season of renewal.
Sure.
Activities like gardening, spring cleaning, going for picnics, these are about getting back outside, engaging with the world again.
They're fundamentally hopeful actions, aren't they?
Yeah.
Taking advantage of that new breeze, that soft, welcome wind that often marks the transition.
Yeah, you feel it on your face, and it feels like change.
And that feeling, that sense of hope and a new beginning, it's deeply tied into the cultural dimension too. Seasons act as these major anchor points for our collective memories and traditions.
Winter is the obvious one, maybe. Anchored by huge celebrations like Christmas or New Year, the structure almost demands gathering inside.
For sure. But the cultural links get really interesting when they depend on very specific weather patterns. You mentioned the source talking about the Basant Festival in Pakistan.
Yeah, the spring festival with all the colorful kites.
Okay, but why kites?
Ah, right, because of the wind.
Exactly. Because the specific atmospheric conditions, the reliable, predictable breeze you get in spring in that region makes kite flying possible, even ideal.
So it proves the point. The cultural activity isn't just randomly assigned to spring. It's structurally dependent on a specific weather feature.
Precisely. And every culture does this in some way. Uses the seasonal shift to frame important events. Harvest festivals in autumn, flower celebrations in spring, midsummer parties, New Year's. They all plug into that cycle.
Okay, so we've broken down these structural dependencies from sunlight to what we do to how we feel. And we've used some specific vocabulary to make the descriptions richer.
Right. Humidity, frost, bloom, harvest, breeze.
But for you listening, the learner trying to synthesize this, how do you take all this complexity and shape it into, like, a cohesive personal description? We probably need a framework, a way to organize these deeper thoughts.
Yeah, we sort of built a little mental checklist, 5 steps. It helps ensure you cover all the important connections, turning a simple preference, I like spring, into a much more thoughtful, descriptive story. This is basically the structure for telling your own seasonal story.
Okay, what are the steps?
First, just name your favorite season. Easy enough. Second, really analyze why you like it. Connect it to a structural change, maybe the long daylight hours, maybe the quiet stillness, maybe the renewal.
Got it. Connect it back to the core drivers.
Third, detail what people or you specifically usually do during that season, the typical activities. Fourth, describe the clothes needed or the shelter, the physical adaptations required.
Makes sense. Connects to logistics.
And fifth, articulate exactly how it makes you feel. And maybe try to distinguish, like we discussed, between the sort of idealized mood and the actual, sometimes complex reality of living through it.
That structure seems really useful. It forces you to connect the dots from climate right through to consequences. And then to make that story sound natural, you need those conversational phrases, right? You don't just want to list facts like a report.
Definitely not. You share your preferences naturally. We could maybe model a couple.
Good idea.
Okay, so instead of just saying, I like winter, you could say something like, well, I actually prefer winter to summer because the frost on the trees creates this stillness. It makes me feel particularly thoughtful and quiet. See, uses the vocabulary and the structural analysis.
Yeah, that works. Or maybe something like, I don't really like rainy days much, but, the intense heat of summer, it's kind of worth it for the chance to travel more and just feel energetic.
Perfect. It acknowledges complexity, but states a preference.
And just a super quick grammar point that came up in the sources: keep things smooth by always using the preposition in before the season name.
Right. Simple but important. In autumn, in summer, in spring, in winter.
Good reminder.
So, okay, we've synthesized quite a bit here. Moved from the big picture of meteorological change right down to specific words and cultural examples.
And I think we've shown that seasons aren't just arbitrary dates on a calendar. They're probably the most reliable structural force shaping our collective lives.
They really are.
Hmm.
They're the dependable background for so many of our significant personal memories.
Totally. Whether it's that high energy of a summer trip you took.
Or that quiet, thoughtful feeling of being snowed in during winter reading a book by the fire, perhaps.
Yeah. Seasons don't just change the weather outside. They change the stories we carry inside.
Well put. They provide the whole context, really emotional, logistical, cultural, for pretty much everything we experience.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Now that you understand this whole structural dependency, the connections between daylight, activities, logistics, mood, what specific memory or tradition would you use to explain why your favorite season embodies that feeling of, say, profound rest, or high energy, or a completely new beginning?
Think about how seasons shape not just the atmosphere around you, but the actual narrative arc of your year, the stories you tell yourself about your life.